What's up, YouTube? It's time for a follow-up for the last video, which was about the cops in Washington banning the Sig 320 from their basic law enforcement academy training thing. Whatever. They banned the Sig 320, at least for now. Now, the comments have been coming in, so let's go through them and see what you guys have to say about it. First one. Ben, I was the original 320 fanboy. Bought early on and ended up with 3 FCUs and multiple slides and grip modules. I went with Gray Gun's triggers and spring setups. Cool. Went through the safety update. I defended Sig against the negative news. I eventually grew tired and a little nervous. Sold all P320s 2 years ago. Bought a Staccato P. Great gun, had fun with it. Just recently sold all and returned to my Glock roots. I carry a Glock 19, just bought a Glock 47, same time you did. Glock 47 is a great gun. My best shooting friend who shoots XC and Atlas pistols, watch what I've done, now wishes he had stuck to his Glock 34s. Funny, the vicious circles we go into. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. For you guys not in the loop on the update, I'm going to go ahead and go back in time to 2017, where the update, the Sig Sauer voluntary upgrade of the P320 pistol. I'm going to read this letter that went out from Sig. And again, this is from August 8th, 2017. The P320 meets U.S. standards for safety, including the American National Standards Institute, Sporting Arms Ammunition Manufacturers Institute, National Institute of Justice, as well as rigorous testing protocols for global military and law enforcement agencies. The design of Sig Sauer P320 overcomes the most significant safety concern in striker-fired pistols today: the practice of pressing the trigger for disassembly. This can be performed with a round in the chamber, which has resulted in numerous incidents of property damage, physical injury, and death. The disassembly process of the P320, however, uses a takedown lever rather than pressing the trigger, eliminating the possibility of discharge during the disassembly process. I think people will still find a way to set it off. Anyway, recent events indicate that dropping the P320 beyond U.S. standards for safety may cause an unintentional discharge. As a result of input of law enforcement, government, and military customers, Sig has developed a number of enhancements in function, reliability, and overall safety, including drop performance. Sig Sauer is offering these enhancements to its customers. Details of this program will be available at sigsauer.com on Monday, August 14th, 2017. The M17 variant of the P320, selected by the U.S. government as the U.S. Army's modular handgun system, is not affected by the voluntary upgrade. Sig Sauer is committed in our approach on innovation, optimization, and performance, ensuring we deliver the finest possible products, said Ron Cohen, president and CEO of Sig Sauer. Durability, reliability, and safety, as well as end-user confidence in the Sig Sauer brand. Whatever. Ron Cohen, isn't that the dude? Was there a RICO prosecution on that dude? Anyway, let me type that up. I don't know. That's what I heard. Blah, blah, blah. Arrested in charge of, I don't know if that's the same guy. Anyway, so interesting I don't know why in the voluntary upgrade thing, they mentioned that they eliminate the most serious safety concern. I mean, that is a concern. It sounds kind of dumb as an individual. Like for me, I don't care that I have to pull the trigger on the Glock to disassemble it. I don't really care. However, if I was issuing these to an agency of like 5,000 dudes, I know one of those idiots is going to set the gun off when they're trying to disassemble it. And that's not super helpful. Yeah, so I mean, that's a nice thing that they can, you can take it apart without pulling the trigger, but it doesn't matter that much to me. Anyway, there was a voluntary upgrade, and I assume they changed the design after that. All right, let's take another comment. I recently saw a better quality video of the P320 that went off in an officer's holster while he was fighting with a guy in the police station. This was the incident that happened a year or so ago. The video showed the gun went off when the holster was hit and the gun twisted in the holster. I believe it was one of Donut Operator's recent videos. Yeah, okay. This is why I kind of wanted to add the safety dingus to my Sig, because I feel better with that, like knowing that that's going to mitigate potentially, just setting it off with that. Okay, let's take another comment. This one seems like a good one. 3 things that a lot of folks are overlooking about the P320. The striker is under full spring tension, fully cocked at all times until it is released by the trigger sear, in contrast to the partial spring tension of guns like Glock. Number 2, the trigger is relatively light for a striker-fired pistol and breaks at 90 degrees. This prevents installation of a trigger bar safety without a complete redesign of the FCU. Number 3, there is no trigger bar safety or external thumb safety or backstrap safety preventing the trigger from being easily depressed, except for the M17 and the M18. These 3 relatively minor issues combine into a big safety problem. The design is just inherently less safe than other striker-fired pistols. To put this in perspective, it is almost the equivalent of carrying a hammer-fired pistol with the hammer cocked at all times and no safety, but with a slightly heavier trigger pull. I love my P320s, but this is a huge issue, and especially for mass use in law enforcement. If you're a P320 fan, I would encourage you to take a close look at the Springfield Echelon. It is also modular and is a much safer design. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people want me to try that one. I may do that. People say that the Echelon is good, so. I think the biggest problem with the P320 is just the double action only hammer fired gun that they shoved a striker into with as little development as possible instead of trying to make an actual gun. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's what they did. Sig undercut the Glock submission to the Army by almost $200 per copy. Yeah, I think that's right. But I think they made it up on the parts or maintenance or shit on the back end. I think that was a smarter strategy. All right. Good riddance, referencing the Washington cops not using that gun anymore. Sig quality and reliability has been dropping for years. I purchased a P320 right after the initial issues were ironed out. Straight out of the box, I had 4 failures to extract within the first 3 mags. A Sig fanboy at my club bought it off me for $100 more than I paid for it. Well, that's a good deal for you. He ended up getting the extractor replaced. Issue wasn't fixed, so he sent it back. Sig ended up refunding him because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with the gun. I still own a P226 from the 90s and have never had a single malfunction with 12,000 rounds through it. Modern striker-fired SIGs seem like they're made of Chinese pot metal and cheap plastic. Total junk. Okay. I mean, definitely the old 226s are very good. I think we can all agree on that. All right. Let's look for another good comment. Here's a guy bringing it back up. A sketchy gun from a shady company. That's how I titled my review of the 320 X5. It seems like the best way of describing the situation. I mean, I want to like the gun, but they don't make it easy. The crazier thing to me is the Sig Cope of saying, well, they're cops and they're not the best trained. Like, yeah, but cops didn't start carrying handguns with the P320. Why has this not been an issue with Glocks after Gen 1? Smith & Wesson, M&P 1.0 and 2.0, Sig 226, P10, okay, blah, blah, blah. If anything, cops are better trained today than they were 20 years ago, and we still never heard of crazy NDs inside of holsters other than Serpa shenanigans, and that's just a bad design for drawing the gun. Guns still didn't just go off in Serpas. I think cops are better trained now on net, but it's really hard to say. You know, there's 17,000 different law enforcement agencies in this country, believe it or not. And there's some degree of autonomy between a lot of them. So it's like, yeah, some guys are better trained, some guys aren't. It just depends on where you are. All right. Our agency, T&E, the 320 with 2.0s and Glock 45s a couple years ago. Oh, I think he means Smith & Wesson 2.0s. When we reached out to the SIG rep about our concerns with the reports coming out of uncommanded discharges, we were assured the problem was user error and agencies using wrong holsters. He offered us free armorers courses and vouchers to their training facility in New Hampshire. Damage was already done. Our brass and attorneys were already scared off by the liability. We went with the 2.0s and never looked back. Yeah, and I mean, and this kind of is the problem for SIG with the internet stuff here, where, I mean, if there's potential issues, a lot of guys are like, there's other platforms to look at. Like, why even swim in these waters? That's how a lot of people would look at it. I feel like no one noticed this, but the Montville, Connecticut police recently released a full body cam footage of their discharge, and it completely destroyed Sig's bullshit rebuttal that the gun wasn't fully seated in the holster. Looking at the full body cam, you can see it clearly was fully seated in the holster. Okay. I can see why they would not want to use a gun with a sketchy track record with problems. Why risk it when there are better options? And this is what I'm saying. My local police department stopped using the 320 as their issue gun. They were looking hard at the PDP, but ultimately I was told through some inside baseball that they went back to Glocks simply because they could get them cheaper, even though the PDP was preferred. Some of the officers that were 320 fanboys that touted Sig as the military's choice were upset that they went back to Glocks simply because they were cheaper. Well, how in the hell do they think Sig got the military contract? Now, that's true. Undercutting. At least Glock has a better track record than the 320. All right. Let's see what else we got here. I think there's another one. Sig says they fixed the issue and Sig would never lie to prevent poor sales. This must be fake. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think trust with Sig is kind of like, it's not really there. It's like people don't trust him. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. I mean, I don't believe anything they say, really. All right. Somebody's commenting on the GBRS group shirt I was wearing. The GBRS group shirt for this video is ironic, for sure, since those guys are Sig ambassadors. I think Ernest Langdon described the situation very well a couple years back when he said this gun tries to emulate a 1911 trigger. Very little take up with a crisp break, but has no safety. This is a recipe for trouble. I don't know how much the mechanical safety would matter or does matter. I don't know. It depends on how it's designed. I don't know. Yes, I know the M17 and M18 have a manual safety, which I think is very needed on this gun, but 100% of LEOs I've interacted with do not run manual safety model P320s. The fact is that many LEOs have the bare minimum required for handgun training. Many are not gun enthusiasts and do not seek more in-depth training to better themselves. Well, yeah, I mean, most guys are not into shooting that way. It's just like a thing they have to do at work. I mean, whether you like that or don't, that's kind of the way it is. All right, guys. I think we're going to keep seeing more of this. Like, it's going to be a trickle over, I don't know, months, years that come. I think maybe someday we'll have some real definitive answers on this. Anyway, that's it for me.